Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make Southern Fried Chicken Gizzards. So as you can see on my counter, this is what we're going to use to make these. And I know there's probably a few of you out there who are like, what is he making? Yes, I said Southern Fried Chicken Gizzards. Now these are an acquired taste. Some people wouldn't eat them, some people would. However, I try to give you a variety of things, and these are so southern, and I've seen so many people eat these before, and yes, they do taste good if you prepare them properly. So I think that's kind of the catch there in the whole thing. You kind of got to give things a chance when you're eating it, and you also have to prepare it the way it should be made, and it actually would taste good to where you'd want to eat it again. These take a little effort to cook. However, they are so inexpensive to buy, it's cheaper than actually buying chicken. And that's a good thing. So what we have here is 1.5 pounds of chicken gizzards, and we're going to go through these just to clean them up before they're actually prepared. And what you do with it is you bring out the chicken gizzards, put them in a bowl, rinse them, wash them, do the whole deal, drain it, and then come over to the side with a cutting board and just go through them and find if there are any hard pieces in it. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you find it, because sometimes they're very white, very hard little tissue pieces that hold together the gizzard. You want to cut these off if they're extremely hard, because even though we're going to boil these for a very long time to cook them down, it's one of these things where sometimes that doesn't soften up completely, and that makes chewing these a little bit of an effort. However, if you cut it off properly and then you cook these without those pieces in it, this will be a little bit easier to eat, and it's just a lot better without the hard pieces in it. Now mind you, I'm making these as fried. You could do these in so many different ways, because there are people who do these where they cook them just by boiling them and actually add a gravy to them and serve them with mashed potatoes or whatever. Or you could do them like this, which you still could actually, once these are breaded, put like a gravy over top of it and have it with something like macaroni and cheese or mashed potatoes or whatever you want to serve it with. However, right now we want to actually get through this whole bowl, make sure that we cut off all of those white pieces before we move into the next step of it. And the next thing is going to be that we're going to have to boil these once they're all cleaned and cut up, which that's going to be the lengthiest part of this whole process, because the longer you boil them, the better it is, the softer they are, the easier they are to eat. Because if you took them straight like this and cleaned them up and then deep fried them, they would be really chewy, and I do mean chewy, to a point where you might not enjoy it at all. So the secret to it is you do have to boil. So once we get through all of these, we're going to move on to that next stage, and then we'll deal with it at that point. And then after they're boiled, then you go through the process of getting them ready to deep fry them, which it's really not that hard of a process, but it's just one of these things. You take this in stages, one at a time, and get it done. So we have a large pot of water here, and I'm going to add chicken seasoning to this just for the fact that it kind of gives it a flavor to start with. So if you put in like 1.5 tablespoons of any kind of chicken seasoning you want, really doesn't matter. It's still going to give them flavor to start out with. So go ahead, do that. Take the cleaned up gizzards, put them into the pot, and as I said, I'm going to cook these for 1.5 hours. You literally should do it for at least an hour. I do 1.5 hours just to be on the safe side. And when they're done, we're just going to actually remove them from the pot and set them into a bowl, because they're going to have to cool down. And while they're cooling, we're going to add to them at least a cup of buttermilk. And what we want to do is get these completely coated in this, and then like put them in a refrigerator for a half an hour, so that way they definitely cool down. So go ahead and make sure they're coated, and we're going to move on to mixing our dry ingredients for the coating on the outside of them. So we're adding 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and then we got to mix here in this last thing. There's 3/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and a half a teaspoon of sage. And we're going to mix this all together, because this is what's going to go on the outside to make the coating, the breading on our gizzards. So we want to make sure that all these seasonings are evenly distributed. So you can use a spatula or whatever, just mix this around and keep going until you see that this is completely mixed through. Now, we brought back our gizzards at this point. they're totally cool. They're prepared, they're ready to go. So we want to mix it around just a little bit to make sure they're totally coated before we pour off the buttermilk. So once they're done, we're going to go ahead and take them out and put them back in their bowl empty. And then we're going to take one large egg, and then we're going to add about a tablespoon of milk to this, mix it up, and we're going to coat them with this, because this is going to help the actual dry ingredients we're having to stick to the outside of it. So that way it doesn't just fall off when you put it onto there. So go ahead and just scramble it up like you were scrambling eggs for breakfast, and then we're going to pour this over top of it. And then once this is in, we're going to go ahead and stir this up and get that egg coating over everything. So we want to make sure that you have a really good coating. Now, yes, there is quite a bit of this mixture still in the bottom of the bowl when you're done. That's okay. So we're going to go ahead and scoop these out with something like a slotted spoon or whatever. And we're going to put them into the dry ingredients. And make sure you get them all. And then, once we do this, we're going to mix this up and get them completely coated with all of the flour, seasoning, and everything else. Because we want to make sure that they are really coated. And keep doing this until we go completely through. And you're going to notice at one point you've got it as coated as you can. So then we're going to pick it up, shake it out, and put it back into the egg mixture one more time. Because basically we're just doing like a double coating of this. But the best part about it is when you're deep frying, this actually gives you a lot of breading on it. So keep going until you get them all out. And then once we're done with this, we're going to coat them again with the little bit of egg and milk that's still in the bottom of this bowl. So once they're in there completely, just take your spoon or whatever and stir it through so that way it gets wet all over again. Because believe it or not, that little bit in the bottom of there is going to help these get wet enough for more to stick to them. And then once we're done with this, we're going to bring them back over to the dry ingredients again, because we're going to put some more of this breading on it. So keep going until you think they're very much wet, and then go ahead and dump them right back in there again. And then once they're in, we're going to stir them up and get them coated all over again. And then in a minute, we are actually going to start heating up our oil to cook these. Because at this point, once they're coated again, they're ready to go. So you're going to have some oil in a large pan. And I'd say almost like 1.5 to 2 inches of oil, which these are going to have to get at 350 degrees in your oil. So go ahead and put it in ahead of time, get it ready to go. I used a large pot for this. It's at 350 right now, and as I drop these in, they start sizzling. We're going to have to cook these for about 5 minutes. So once you get them in, they're going to get totally coated with your oil, and just let them cook. Do not pile them on top of each other. We want to keep them separated in a way that they're kind of side by side, but not on top of. And you put in as many as you can for one run, and then when they're done after 5 minutes, we bring them out. And then once that's over with, we're literally going to come back to this and put in our next batch. Because we're going to do these in batches until they're completely done. And as you can see, my first batch is out, and here goes the second one. And we just keep going until we are finished, and then you have these. They're ready to eat, and you can serve them any way you want to. Probably a great way of serving these, even if you just want to do it with French fries, would work. But these just have such a unique taste. It's one of these things, you have to try it to know if you like it or not. I mean, you can sit there all day and say, no, I'm not going to eat that. Well, unless you try it, you don't know. Because this is what mine looked like when they were done. And they really are not bad to eat. You just have to actually give it a chance. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out all of the books that are available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and buy a cookbook at a discount and a shipping rate that's cheaper than Amazon, so you get a really great deal on this. I hope you have a great day.